Hello, I am Elda Boese, and I would like to tell you a story, my story. I was a teacher in a rural Ontario one-room schoolhouse in the 1940s. It was a typical one-room public schoolhouse, grades 1 to 8. It was identified by county, township, and a number. You might see SS number 3, which stood for school section number 3. Was supervised by an area superintendent. There was a school board made up of local residents. They appointed a chairman, and that school board hired the teacher. Usually it was an unmarried woman. It could be a man, and the man could be married or unmarried. The teacher qualifications should be a normal school graduate. That meaning that there would be a 1-year term at school and then you would graduate. However, in some cases, it was a grade 13 graduate. Therefore, teachers could be very young, 16 to 18 years old. Sometimes the students could be taller than I was. It was wartime, so the salary was very low. Sometimes we were given clothing or rations coupons instead of our pay. There were no apartment buildings in the countryside, so the teacher was expected to board with a local farm family. There were positives. Tasty meals provided if the farm wife was a good cook. Washing and ironing was provided also. You would be part of the local neighborhood. You would be expected to accompany family to go to church. And you were always enjoying the companionship of the family. There were negatives, though. If the farm wife was not a good cook, then that wouldn't be as interesting. You would be part of the local neighborhood, which sometimes could be a detractor. And you were expected to accompany family to church. That may or may not be to your liking. And with companionship, everyone did know your business. I lived with the farm family of Bill and Alma and their 3 children, Marion, Edgar, and Beverly. I was very fortunate as it was a prosperous farm. There were delicious meals. It was the hub of the community. The children were smart and well behaved, and Alma and I became good friends over the years. It didn't hurt that Bill was the chairman of the school board either. The building was made of wood, 1 large room, a vestibule or coat room, a wood stove, a blackboard across the whole front of the room, and desks or seats bolted onto wooden boards so that they could be moved. There was an outhouse for the girls, an outhouse for the boys, and there was a baseball diamond tramped out into the field back behind the school. There was a drilled well and a pump, so we had water at least to drink and to wash. There were swings for recess time. They were hung on a wooden frame. Bill would plow the snow off of the road in winter and make sure that there was always enough wood for the stove. Then It was the job of the older boys to keep the fire going during the day. There was always a pail of water close by, just in case. The air conditioning in the summer consisted of cross drafts through the open windows. Appropriate attire. Women teachers must wear dresses or skirts, and always stockings, no pants. On very hot days, sandals were permitted without stockings. We followed the Ontario government curriculum, which was revised in 1937. There could be up to 40 students in the school. Some years, a few in each grade. Some years, no students in a grade or grades. Some years, a bulge in one or more grades. Ages usually determined which grades the students were put into. However, some students had to be at home to help if there was an illness or when it was time to harvest the crops. So they would be older in a certain grade. Some would be taller than I was. We had sets of readers, mathematics books, atlases. Supplies were scarce because it was wartime. We had some paper, not a lot. We had scribblers, which were workbooks, pencils, straight pens with that messy ink, and blotting paper, crayons, blackboard chalk, and slates. Students usually brought their own supplies. Hand-me-downs were encouraged, both because of cost and scarcity. Many pieces of equipment, for example glass jars, and teaching materials were makeshift or picked up from outdoors. For example, pollywogs or bird's nest for science classes. We would have special holiday celebrations and concerts, for example, at Christmas time. Scheduling was the key. I would assign seat work to each of the other students in the other grades as I taught a lesson to one grade, and then we would switch about. Memory work was emphasized. The older students were expected to help with the younger students, especially on outhouse duty. Because it was the time of the Second World War, lessons such as air raid drills, first aid, and reasons for rationing were added to the curriculum. I taught the military physical education program to the older grades, as some of the students might be needed to enlist. Also, in the summertime, after I had taught a lesson on parachutes, all of the students and I would pick milkweed pods, and we would collect the silk to send to the city, as the military needed the silk to produce parachutes. We all had to bring our lunches, of course, so lunchtime was a more relaxed social time with the students. I thoroughly enjoyed my teaching time at the school. The parents were supported. However, I do remember this one family. For the most part, the children were eager to learn, and the superintendent seemed happy with my progress. Of course, there were the usual bumps and bruises, frogs in desks, snakes in the outhouse, black flies, mosquitoes, and there could be flooding in the playground. Discipline was not usually a problem, as the students knew that once the parents knew of the problem, they would do the disciplining. I tried to be creative and have the students write an essay about the problem or clean out the outhouse. A benefit of working at a school which was in another part of the province was that there were different prospective husbands available. And yes, I met my future husband here. Therefore, I had to resign in June as I was getting married in July. That was the rule. No married women were hired as teachers at that time. Actually, this is my mother's story. I also became a teacher, but the schools where I worked were in urban areas. They were well equipped and supplies were ample, and I was paid a much higher salary. However, children were still the same. I enjoyed teaching them all, and they all had great personalities, just in different ways. To sum it up, children respond to smiles, fairness, and love.
For more information about Oakville's history, visit our website at oakvillehistory.org, our Instagram page at Old Oakville, or our Facebook page at Oakville Historical Society.